Good morning and welcome. I'm here in this protected nature area and yeah, I'm looking forward to spending my day here, do a little bit of sketching, and it's just wonderful how calm and silent everything is here. I've just emerged from a train full of school children, so I can really use the silence and the calmness of nature, and I'm really excited about what I will find here today. So I'm hoping for some butterflies, some interesting plants, maybe some orchids, and yeah, I thought I would take you along with me. It's now about 9 o'clock. Very soon. It's already really warm. I've got my hat with me and my sketching gear in my backpack, and yeah, let's explore this area. I'm excited to take you with me on this day. I found some wild strawberries. I'm not going to eat them because I'm in this protected area, although they look very yummy. Here are more. They look really nice. And there are a few insects already running away, scuttling away from me. And here is the first find of the day. One kind of orchid that I haven't seen before this year. I will put the name in the video later. I know the name in German, but I don't know it in English. It's a beautiful specimen. It's a beautiful plant. You can see it's in full bloom. I'm not going to sketch it though. I'm going to search for one that is maybe a bit more in shadow. So as you can see, we're in the middle on the meadow here, and the path is just behind me. So I'm going to look for a more shadowy spot, but this is a really beautiful orchid. And here are more orchids. I'm already a bit late for these ones. They are past their bloom now. They have already the seed pods showing, but they are still really interesting ones with these little dots. I hope you can see this on camera. It's really beautiful. They have these little dots on the flowers. And another kind of orchid. I've made the first sketch of the day here of this little orchid, but I'm not going to add color right now. I'm just going to take a photo and add a little bit of color later. I'm sitting on this sloping hill here. It's not very comfortable, but I just wanted to get this orchid into the sketchbook. Maybe I will add some color later when I have the time, when I'm out here, and if not, I will add some paint in the studio. Oh, this is exciting. I just had a very rare find, and it's literally 5 steps away from the last orchid that I was sketching. I was hoping to see this here, but I was not really counting on this because these are really rare. I'm going to show you in a minute. I will tell you why these are so rare and interesting. So there's a kind of orchids that is called the Orchid genus, and they actually imitate insects. So for pollination, they have this strategy that they will sort of generate these pheromones, and they will mimic the body of insects, so that an insect that thinks it has found a mate will land on it and then actually pollinate the flower. And these are really cool orchids, and I'm going to show you them now, and then I will sketch it. So here's my sketch. Here's the plant. And can you see these small flowers here? This is where the insect will land and think it's actually another fly or a wasp or a bee, and then he will pollinate this part up there. It's really a fascinating concept, and these are such beautiful, delicate little flowers. These are actually the smallest that you can find here in this area. Yes, so I think for a basic sketch that's fine. I'm going to add a little bit of color now. And I think my sketch is not really that great, but I'm so excited I found this plant here. Yeah, let's add some color now. So this is my first time trying out my new palette. So my first time outside that I'm trying out my new palette, and you can see I have removed almost all the greens besides this sap green. So curious to see how this will work. So now, right now I'm mixing this nice light green for the petals here. What I will do sometimes when I'm sketching a plant like this is I will add color in a few places to get the right colors down, and then I will finish the rest at home. So this plant is so small that I think I can finish it here in the field. Sometimes for more complex sketches it's nice to have all of the right colors, and then you can just finish the rest at home where it's maybe a little bit easier. So it really depends on what you like more, sketching at home or sketching in the field, I guess. There's another leaf here that I forgot to draw in. It's just really a nod of leaf. And from behind, these petals have a more pale bluish green. So this orchid actually emits a smell, a pheromone, that is linked to a certain insect species, and other species of these kind of orchids do the same, but for different insects. So this is really one of the weirdest and most fascinating things that I've ever come across. So the last thing that I'm going to add is this part here. This very pale violet part. It's called Spiegel, which is called mirror in German. I'm not sure about the English word, but I've mixed a very pale mix of ultramarine and quinacridone pink. And I'm going to add this to my sketch here. So you can actually only see it in two parts. Whenever you go field sketching, don't expect really finished masterpieces. It's more about being outside, taking in nature, making your observations, I'm going to do a close-up of one of these flowers in a minute when I'm finished here. So for me, this is really more about learning about the plants, experiencing them, finding them, and having a good time when I'm outside. And I can still produce more finished and more aesthetically pleasing drawings and illustrations when I'm back home. At least for now, this is the case for me. Maybe I will learn more about this and become a better outdoor illustrator, but for now I'm really just an outdoor sketcher. And one thing that you can't be careful enough about is your water and making sure that you don't spill any water into nature, particularly when you're sitting right next to very rare plants. This is because I have a magnet on my small water container here, and this makes sure that it can't fall over. And I've done a slightly bigger, more schematic drawing of the flower. You can see very well here that the plant even mimics the antennae of an insect. So I will show you this on the plant. I hope that you will be able to see. You see these little antennae-like protrusions from the plant. So yeah, this is what I try to show here in my sketch, which is of course much bigger than the original plant. So I will continue now on my path and look around what else I can find, but this has already been the highlight of my day. I could go home now and I would be perfectly happy, but the day is still long. It's 9:30 and yeah, I'm excited to see what more I will find here. So one tip I have for you when you're sketching on a sunny day is always, or try to find a spot where you can sketch so that you are your own shadow. So it's really warm and sunny, and if you look at this very bright paper, then your eyes will be confused and it will be very hard to do a nice sketch. And so I always try to find either shady spots or areas where I can sit with the sun in my back, and this will really help. I also have a small white umbrella with me, but I prefer not to bring out too much equipment, because it just adds to, to the stress and to having to remember many things and to take care of all of these things, and to yeah, it's just a bit practical. Sketching from life is so much better than sketching from a photo, is that you really see the real thing. So a photo immediately flattens everything that you see on the real object, on the real plant. And when I'm sitting in front of it, I can see I can see which flowers are in the front and in the back, and I can sketch them accordingly. So I always try to sketch those flowers a little bit lighter that are facing the back, or that are sort of disappearing into the back, so it's visually less confusing. And these orchids are already sort of visually confusing, so it's okay to use a few tricks to make these plants easier to read, so to speak. And I'm not sure if I've said this, I really love these kind of mechanical pencils for field sketching, because I have an eraser and they're automatically sharp, so I never have to bring a sharpener, never have to bring an extra eraser, because I'm really the kind of person who loses these things when I'm sitting in a nice meadow and I'm sketching, and I don't want to lose all my stuff, and also I don't want to know that it's somewhere in this area where it's not supposed to be. So indicating the grass around the flower a little bit. I'm not going into detail with this, I just want to show what kind of habitat this is. And of course these are all these calciferous grasslands. I hope you say it like this. I'm never sure, I have to check how you say this, but these are all these different, these same kind of grasslands that are sort of great places for orchids to grow. I still like to show different kinds of plants and the vegetation around the plants that I'm interested in, so that I can get a feeling, yeah, what kind of habitat this is. And also I think it makes for a rather nice sketch. I've mixed a rather large amount of green here, because my sketch is quite big. I don't want to be mixing the entire time. And I'm trying to prevent the ants from entering my palette, but oh well, I think I will just have to deal with these bugs. One thing that you can add to your mixed green, either a pre-mixed green or a self-mixed green, is a little bit of a red color or an orange or a yellow ochre to make the green less intense and stingy and a bit more natural overall. So I'm going to start down here, because the green will actually get lighter at the top. And leaves are quite bright. Quite yellow. And the same thing here, I've added a little bit of yellow ochre to my yellow so that it doesn't look too garish and too intense. I think I saw a raven back there. Yes, there it is. I will not be able to see it up close, but there it is. There's the raven. I love these birds. Oh, they're talking to each other. Can you see that? Can you hear that? So I've tried to add these very subtle yellow or cream colored markings on the flowers themselves, which are of course white, and so I didn't want to add too much color. And I've done this with a mix, a very light and watery mix of this buff titanium and just a little bit of yellow ochre and the rest of this yellow mix that I had here. So adding this sort of middle part here, And you can see there are plenty of insects in this meadow, which is actually great because, you know, insects are important for us. I will maybe refine this a little bit later when I'm back at home. Let's take a last look at this beautiful flower. There's a small bug crawling around on it. And this really is an amazing area. Look at those two. Look at all these different orchids here. I think I'm going to have to sit down. And there are so many orchids in this space. I have to be very, very careful where I sit down so that I don't trample any of them. So whenever you can't sit directly by the trail, then you have to take a very, very close look so that you don't destroy any of these rare plants. Okay, here's my finished sketch. I think, as always, I'm going to sketch one of the flowers in a close-up so that I can get a better understanding of how these plants work. But this is just a really nice one. Look at this, this shine on the leaves. Really lovely. Okay, I've decided that I will only color in this large schematic drawing because I still have a lot that I want to explore today, and I keep stopping and painting orchids, so I will definitely have to return here. So I will just color this little one, then I have sort of the right colors. We'll also take a photo and then I can finish this at home if I want. So this here is actually one of the colors that I recently added to my palette. This is Perylene Violet. Just a little bit of burnt umber for this nice reddish brown that can be seen on a lot of orchids and in a lot of places in nature actually. I think it needs a bit more brown. And one thing I also do when I have set up my sketching area somewhere where I can't sort of just put my container into the palette, I have this small pouch so that when my water topples over it won't spill into the meadow. So this is another precaution, and somehow I got an ant in there. Oh well, I will have to release him a little bit later. But for now I will just try and very quickly give this a little bit of color here. And this is almost too intense, so you can see this is also very handy with a painting rag here. So I'm adding in a little bit of magenta. This is quinacridone magenta. Just a tiny bit for these. It's almost impossible to do this with this brush. It's brought a smaller brush. We'll just indicate the color of these spots here. While I'm standing here, let's talk for a minute about, ooh, a big insect. Let's talk for a minute about how I decide when I want to sit down and sketch something and when I just continue to walk. So today was a day of many highlights for me, and so far I haven't done a lot of actually walking and hiking. I have been drawing a lot, which is great, and I was really excited to sketch all of the plants that I saw. And what I noticed just in the past 10 minutes is that I feel really antsy and my legs feel really tired from all the sitting, and I want to be moving, I thought. And so sometimes when there is a place where there's so much to see, then you have to just make the decision to either stay in one place and maybe sketch for 1 or 2 hours, and 2 hours is really long. So the longest that I was in one place maybe was half an hour or maybe 45 minutes, something like that. And so if you're watercoloring, time can fly by, but I usually notice that after a while I really want to get up again and move my limbs a little bit and stay moving, especially if there's still such a lot to see and experience and explore. And so you can always come back to a place, as I definitely will with this place here, but if you want to move and walk a few meters, then definitely do this and don't feel sort of forced to sit down and document all of the things that you can see. If you're tired of sketching or maybe things are a little bit slow, then you can also just do these lists and take a note of all of the species that you saw. And yeah, this is maybe a good strategy to still have a record of the things that you saw that you can look back at, but it's not that you have to sketch everything that you find interesting. You can leave out stuff, okay? Yeah, I thought this just might be interesting. I feel a little bit conflicted about this today myself, and I thought it might be interesting for you too. I've just found a nice place to sit. I've entered the forest, and it is very hot out in the sun. It's almost noon now, and I'm thinking about whether I should take the longer route to some rock formations that I saw earlier on the map, or if I should just take the short trail, the short path back to the village. I'm not decided yet. I need a bit of a regeneration phase, a little bit of shadow, a little bit to eat and to drink, and then I will decide and see which way I take. So I've decided to take the detour for the rock formations. It's not that far actually. I've consulted the map and it says it's only 2 kilometers. So I will hopefully be fine, because right now I'm in the shadow. And yeah, this should be more relaxing than being out in the meadows, in the fields right now. So one thing, I mean, I love these meadows and these grasslands, but one thing that is really killing me every time is the intense heat. And I mean, it makes sense, because you only have these plants growing there because of the dryness and the heat, and some of the plants are actually from the Mediterranean and can only sort of survive here because of these conditions. But it is not so great for humans to be out there in these conditions. Yeah, so a little bit of a walk in the forest is a much welcome change. There's lots of woodruff here, and then we have wild leek or the remnants of it. There are still, or wild garlic I should say, or bear's garlic. It has many names, also in German. And it's already past its bloom, so you can see the little seeds here forming. And I guess that very soon it will just retreat back into the ground, and we'll have to wait for next spring for it to reappear. You can actually eat this stuff. But I won't take anything from here. It's already a bit past its prime, and also we're in a conservation area, so I'm going just to let it grow. And here's a beautiful woodruff, also with these little seed pods coming out of it. I'm back in the sun, as you can see, and I've actually found a bench which is, by the looks of it, very well used by birds, but that's okay. Yeah, I'm generally on my way back for today. I think I found so many great things that theoretically I'm really pleased, and I have already seen enough. If I encounter something on my way back that I definitely want to sketch, then I think I will sit down. But I think it has to be in the shadow, because it's really still quite hot. And I still have all afternoon to slowly go back to the village and take my train back, and I think I will spend another maybe 1 or 2 hours in this area here, maybe a bit longer, and then just see what happens and what interesting plants I can find, or maybe even butterflies. I haven't seen that many butterflies today. Also, I've only heard birds. I've not seen very many besides the ravens that I saw earlier. And yeah, maybe a few more interesting sketches will come out of this. And if not, that's totally okay. I feel really glad and satisfied that I have drawn that many orchids today. Let's take a look again. I mean, this is a really nice page, and maybe I will sit down somewhere and add some color to it. Okay, let's get going. I went past this kind of orchid earlier, and now I think I will just do a quick sketch of it. It's not really a shady spot here, so I think I might need to get out my little umbrella. And yeah, let's see how comfy this can actually get. So I've started my sketch here. There are some ravens croaking in the background. I find, so I've sat down here with my little umbrella. You can see the shape of the shadow here. But I find it is so hot, the wind isn't really blowing here. So I'm sitting here with my small umbrella right next to the plant, on the path actually, and I find it is far too hot to sit here, so I've decided I will take a good photo and then finish this at home, because there is not enough wind going on for this to be comfortable. So whenever you have such a situation, don't be afraid to follow what's comfortable and follow your need for shadow and protection, and for you know, creature comforts are important too. And here you can see lady's slipper, which is another very rare orchid, but I'm too late for it. It's already past its blooming stage this year, at least in this location. I will take a note about this.